What is going on, people? Terry here from Blunt Trips, coming to you from the Blunt Trip Studios here in Aurora, Colorado. And today's episode is going to be on the topic of school shootings and our response to them. I got to looking at how we respond to an active shooter in school, and I don't think it's the most effective way, and in fact, I think it might even be dangerous based on my research and past shooting events that happened, including Columbine. Currently, they have students where if there's an active shooter, they barricade the door and they hide under the desk. But after covering Columbine, most of the students were actually shot sitting under a desk. And I don't think that's the best way. I don't think children should be sitting under a desk, hiding, because first of all, everybody knows that's where they're going to be now. So by hiding there, you're sitting ducks. To me, it's the sitting duck answer, or sitting duck response to an active shooter. And I don't think it's the best technique, to save a life, to save your life or other students' lives in school. Now, I have spoken to somebody who's in the education system and who is also a martial arts expert, and I pointed out some things that I thought were flaws, and after pointing them out, he was in agreement with me. He didn't feel that hiding under a desk would be the best and safest response to an active shooter in school either. I pointed out a few things that should be done, and I'll get to that in just a minute. But by hiding under a desk, if an active shooter breaches the door to a classroom, you are a sitting duck. You don't stand a chance. You do not stand a chance. And in fact, I question who came up with the idea of hiding under the desk. And I'm willing to bet it was somebody sitting behind a desk that came up with that idea. Somebody who has never been in a life or death situation. Probably never even been in a fight before. Because the best approach to any threat to your life is not to hide. It's to confront it, address it, and neutralize the threat. With that said, I proposed a couple ideas to, again, a martial arts instructor who's in the education system, and he thought they were really good ideas. And I will get to those again in a minute. But by hiding kids under the desk, it's like this. As a father, I got a kid that's about ready to go to school in about 1 year. And I'm doing my part as a father. To make sure my child is safe. I'm protecting her not only as a father, but I'm sending her to not one, but 2 different martial arts schools. So I'm doing everything I can as a father to make sure she's protected. But to go through all that, I train with her at home, to go through all that trouble, or all that work, or not trouble, all that effort and all that work to make sure that she's able to defend herself in a dangerous situation, only to find out that the school is going to instruct her to hide under a desk and wait for the gunman. That's disturbing. That's really, really disturbing. And when I looked at that, and the reason why I say the person that came up with this idea excuse me, must have been somebody sitting behind a desk, because when you look at Columbine and you look at the children that were shot and killed that were sitting on a desk, and then you look at who this technique actually worked for, it actually worked for the educators, the people who came up with this plan to hide under the desk. The only one that really was safe that day was the educator, the teacher in the library hiding under the desk. The gunman even stood over and banged on the desk, didn't shoot her. So I question if that really is the safest method to responding to an active shooter. And I get why they say that. I get that they're thinking, okay, if a shooter shoots through a wall, you want to be down low under something. But let's be real. The only time an active shooter is shooting through a wall is when they probably miss a target, or they're shooting randomly at cops or something like that. When you look at it, they're not just randomly shooting through walls because they're wasting ammo, and they don't want to run out of ammo and be confronted by somebody just right after that ammo's gone. So I do get why they say under the desk, but you're a sitting duck if that door is breached. Now, I do think that there is things you can do if that door is breached, and I'm going to give you just one example that I had talked to a martial arts instructor who's in the education field about is, what if teachers had a bucket loaded with good sized stones, and these kids, as part of their active shooter drills, are taught to work in dark classrooms where when there's an active shooter, lights are off, the teacher flips off a light, and they hide. And as soon as that door opens, they stone to death or stone an active shooter. I think that would be more effective than just sitting there hiding and hoping he don't pick your desk to shoot. At least this way you have a chance. And I look at past shootings where people did try and stand up, and there is a problem with that, with one person standing up, and that is just it. One person standing up to a person and a gun is not going to be effective. But a person with a gun is not going to be effective with 30 students with large stones pelting that gunman. They stand a better chance, the students do. A better chance than hiding under a desk. I think that this is one thing that students should do in active shooter situations, is be able to have some kind of weapon that can be used if they're cornered in a room. Now, locking the doors off and all that stuff, yes, that's good. But what if that door is breached? What if the door is breached? What are they going to do? Just sit there and pray that their desk isn't picked? Hope it's not their day? That's not good enough for me as a parent. And for those that say it's okay, probably don't have kids in the classroom, or they don't have anything of interest to really pay attention to the decisions they're making. But hiding under a desk is not effective. Not when you're cornered. If you got a gunman who's got a gun, who's there to kill people, and you're trapped in a room, hiding under a desk is not going to save your life. Picking up a rock with a group of people, and a group of people stoning to death a gunman, that's very effective. And I just question the methods that they have when it comes to the children in this community, in this country, and around the world, on how they respond to active shooter situations. With that said, that's just one of the techniques that I feel should be implemented into the active shooter drills. They should definitely teach children to fight back. Not only will they have a better chance, but if a student knows, or an adult knows, that there's a group of people standing there waiting with rocks, do you think they're going to pick the schools to do their shootings? It would definitely cut down on the school shootings. Now, it won't eliminate shootings in general, let me be clear. But it will definitely reduce the amount of shootings that are going on in schools. And that's where kids are. You teach kids how to throw a rock in a dark room at a light source when that door opens, you're going to reduce the threat of an active school shooter by a large number, by a very large number. They're not going to pick them schools. There's a lot of things that can be improved, and they're not doing it, and it makes you question why. Why are they not doing things to protect the children, but they're taking extra steps to protect banks and Walmarts and malls and places of money? Meanwhile, people in this community are paying taxes to protect the people, including the children. And that's just not being done. They're not really focusing. I watched the chief of police here say, oh, the parents need to do it. Here's the thing. Everybody needs to do something instead of everybody telling somebody else they need to do something. The parents do need to get up early in the morning and check these backpacks before the kids go to school and make sure their kid doesn't have a gun going to school, instead of waiting and pointing out what another parent did wrong. Did you get up and check your kid's backpack that morning? The police want to say, oh, the parents. The police could do more. The police could have substations in these schools, but they'll say, oh, it's the parents' fault. The parents will blame the police. They'll blame the school. The schools could do more. They could educate these kids to fight back. I went into a private school, and this is no joke. They actually have a martial arts training in their school. It's part of their schooling, and you look at public schools, and they don't care about these kids. They don't. They care about money, teachers wanting more pay and more, but at the same time wanting to cut back and have more days off. People are gotten fucking lazy. Nobody cares anymore. That's the problem. I excuse my language, but I'm on a topic it's really sensitive to me. And if you watch my videos, the ones that I use profanity in, especially that F word, are the ones that I'm really sensitive about the topic that I'm covering. With that said, I just feel that they should put in a fight back system to deter people from bringing guns to the schools. If people know there's classrooms of 30 and there's schools of 1,500 people willing to fight back, they're not going to show up to the schools with a gun and maybe 15, 20 rounds. They don't have a fucking chance. But right now, the schools are teaching the kids to hide and run. And that's exactly what active shooters want. They want to strike fear in you so that everybody does run and they can pick off the slow ones. But if everybody comes towards them, they won't see the weak. The weak will be hidden amongst the crowd. And you've turned that person who came with that gun to make you feel fear. You've turned that fear back to him. Now he's scared shitless for his life, because even if he starts shooting, he don't have enough rounds to take out that whole class, that whole school. There's not enough rounds. I think the hide under a desk method when there's an active shooter is bullshit. I'm calling it out. I think that the children should be taught to fight back with rocks. Teachers should have a bucket of rocks in every class. Those are not weapons, and if the teacher has them, it ain't nothing to grab a bucket off a top shelf somewhere and sit on the desk and tell every kid to grab a rock and go hide. Strategically, you could teach these kids where to hide along the perimeter walls so that they could stay low, and when that door opens, jump up, fire, and then sit back down. There's things you can do, but you're telling them to sit down and get under the desk and hide and just wait and hope. That worked out real well for the educators, the people that came out with this system. But for the students that you're trying to teach that to, look at Columbine and ask if hiding under a desk was the best method. With that said, I'm going to close this one out. There will be more on this topic. Again, I've got some people I'm working with. Excuse me. Possibly going to do a seminar or something once we figure out a system that's more effective than hiding. But this hiding bullshit, waiting for a gunman and hoping, this is created by an educator sitting behind a desk, and this don't cut it, because the only ones that worked out for is the educators. The students are getting shot sitting there. When somebody's coming in with a gun and they're determined to shoot somebody, you think they're going to look and say, oh, they're behind a desk, let them live? But if they got rocks, do you think they're going to kick that door in knowing there's 30 students behind there waiting to pelt them, and they don't know where them students are standing? Think teachers. You guys are supposed to be teaching these kids, and you're not teaching them. You're taking from them. You're taking their tax dollars, letting them sit there, and then telling them to hide when there's a problem, a real threat in life. Doesn't cut it. Doesn't cut it, and I think we need to look at something more effective. Rocks, people. They're put on this earth for a reason. Let's use them. Alright, with that said, my name is Terry, and I appreciate you clicking on this video. Until next time, you all stay cool.